So I'm just going to give a sort of fairly brief overview. We are, in a sense, at a time of renewal and transition. So it's a time to, both for MindTech, to reflect on the last 5 years and look forward as well to our next iteration as the MindTech MIC, or MindTech 2, as Louise mentioned, to welcome you, but also our growing sort of family of partners and collaborators. We'll be hearing today about some of the real challenges. I don't need to remind you about the challenges in the NHS and with mental health, but also addressing these unanswered questions and unmet needs. So we'll be presenting, and Matt will be saying something in a few minutes about the James Lind Alliance and our PSP and that survey, which is now live. And obviously sharing with you new research and insights, particularly in the area of implementation, getting technology into practice, those kind of dirty, messy issues about how to actually make these things work in the real world. We've got a focus this morning, particularly on young people. Again, Louise has highlighted the huge challenges around young people's mental health. And often it's been an area that has been avoided. It's been seen as too risky, too difficult to get into, particularly for digital health. So we're going to hear some examples of where people have really taken on that challenge. We're going to have presentations around real technologies, how they've gone into practice. And then we're focusing also into the future. So we're thinking about all the new developments. It's changed over the last 5 years. We were not really talking about VR, AI, virtual assistants. This sounds like science fiction, but some of this is actually real. We need to think about the ethics, about the practicalities of how this will work. So I'm really excited about that debate. And then again, thinking towards the end about data, about the huge issues around personal data, privacy, trust, which we have to get absolutely right. So as Louise said, we started off one of 8 HTCs, and we're now moving forward, I think, 11 MICs in the next generation. We're based in Nottingham, but we are national. We are a national network, and that means that our research really goes across the whole of the UK and increasingly internationally as well. So we're delighted to get funding for MindTech 2, and also the related NIHR infrastructure. We have a BRC, Mental Health and Technology theme. We also have the Clark in the East Midlands, and we're working with the other BRCs now in the national network of BRCs, which has increased in mental health. That's great news. One of the things that we've done a lot of work on is in terms of industry, collaborations, working with SMEs, and particularly pulling through their projects using initiatives like the SBRI. There's another SBRI call-out now, which have been incredibly useful mechanisms to bridge that valley of death for small companies and industry and help them move into trials and studies. And obviously involvement has been a key issue. And when I finished, Debbie is going to come in and show what involvement means, what user involvement means within MindTech. I'd just like to thank our amazing team. We have a great core team in MindTech. Many of you will have had contact with them, particularly to highlight Jen Martin and Angela Sumfield, who we wouldn't be here today if they hadn't done such great work to bring us here. Then MindTech is this wider partnership network, and I talk about the sort of 4 legs of our table, really, for MindTech. And again, Louise mentioned that. What we've got here today is an example of it. Actually, in the room is that we have service users, clinicians, developers, academics from research community, and those people like Louise, others from Department of Health and NICE, who are actually setting the scene and the policy. And that coming together is actually critical, and that's what I think we are fundamentally about. So our launch, we'll have an early launch. This is the renewal for MindTech. That's a great opportunity for us. And I think to do things in a slightly different way, to build on our successes, but we are broadening out our partnerships and networks. And so this is critical to us. So Mental Health Foundation, and we'll be hearing from Mental Health Foundation today, the AHSNs, the New Mind Network in Manchester, the BRCs, UCL. So this is a great way of bringing these various groups together, facilitated by MindTech. And we're going to be addressing mental health and technology again across the whole age range, so from young people right through to older people's mental health. Challenges we know about are absolutely critical within mental health, and technology, I think, has a place to play. It's not going to solve all of these issues, but we have to have a strategy for taking this forward, particularly addressing the unmet areas like young people's mental health, which I think in a way technology hasn't really addressed in the way that it should have done. But the huge issues of treatment gaps and access, which I think technology really can play a role, and we've been doing research about that, how to deliver interventions and therapies more efficiently, more directly to a wider population through technology. So we also have what I think some really exciting developments of new interventions. So technology, particularly in the area of VR and the avatar therapies, actually things that are really quite different. So not just taking existing therapies and putting them online or making them accessible in the first generation, but really a second generation of digital technology interventions, much smarter, more intelligent ones. Work around measurements and monitoring and objectivity of assessment, something quite new in mental health, and as I said, widening access to treatment. I think last year I showed this as well, and this is the Gartner curve. And with technology, we have to be very cautious about things being overhyped and overpressured, and at the same time, we tend to get despondent about it. I think we are hopefully in this point of enlightenment. And that's our aim today, is to sort of bring evidence, cast new insights into how technology is being used. But we need to move onto this productivity. So we get technologies really into practice. One of the key issues that we've been doing in MindTech is building the evidence base, supporting the evidence base for the trials, for the kind of research which we need to take forward. And this was one example where we found really big gaps in terms of young people's mental health, particularly with smart mobile technologies, for example, and also outside mood disorders. There's almost nothing that was happening in terms of digital technology. So really important to chart the evidence base. And this is part of the kind of MindTech landscape. What we're seeing is that we have involvement in all of these areas which are increasingly interconnected. And this is all about data and the connection of data. And these research areas, which were probably seen as rather separate, assessment and therapy, informatics, big data, are now being much more connected. And those are some of the examples of our partnerships in the Radar CNS, working with Cubitech, Pivotal, and the PREDICT trial, ProReal, and AlphaStim. These are all things which you will hear about either in posters or presentations today. We're also having this session and debate about VR. Highlight Tom Craig. You'll be aware about his publication. Tom, in the avatar therapy for hallucinations. Tom and his team have presented twice at MindTech in the early days of their work. Fantastic, really quite groundbreaking work, but actually seeing that come through to fruition. And of course, the next challenge about wider implementation. How do we get this more in a way that people with psychosis can really benefit from this more widely. And again, the evidence-based mental health publication in November, which again highlighted, and we've got copies of that in your program. So lots to look forward to, lots of initiatives, as Louise said, probably more than we can almost deal with. So one of the reasons is we need to widen our base. We need more people who can apply for these opportunities. We need more PIs, more partners. So lots of exciting initiatives, particularly as we'll hear about with the James Lind Alliance and the PSP, that survey, which is the results will come out in the spring. So that survey is open, and Matt is going to be saying a little bit more about that. But I want to return back to this issue about being driven by user needs and user experience, something that's central to MindTech, and introduce Toby Butler, who's our involvement team lead and is going to show a video from the involvement team. Thank you. Okay.
Good morning, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen and distinguished guests, it is an honour and a privilege for me to introduce this next item, a video made by the MindTech involvement team in Nottingham over a few days. The involvement team currently consists of 7 members, some of whom are here today, and we have 3 new members which are very welcome to join us, and we look forward to working with them as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I had a dream when I started to get better from a severe bout of postnatal depression and psychosis that I would like to get involved in research with a team of like-minded people. And this dream, ladies and gentlemen, has come true. The involvement team don't just turn up for the coffee and the cake. We turn up because we want to use our lived experiences, whether that be as a service user or not. We also turn up with acknowledge our skills and knowledge gained, like you, through our jobs, through our education, and throughout our daily lives. As a team, we have a huge amount to offer, bringing a realistic and challenging and professional approach, which you can see throughout this following video. Can I ask that you watch the video with respect and admiration for the group as it moves forward with MindTech into the next few years of work with digital technology, helping those unfortunate enough to become helping them to become mentally unwell. Thank you.
I think that the involvement team has made the research more patient-focused. It's more targeted.
We bring to the team enthusiasm, we bring excitement, we bring our life experiences.
And working with volunteers really makes you just remember that we're here to be people and treat people well.
Being part of the involvement team is challenging. There's always something new.
The involvement team has influenced research in MindTech by bringing a different outlook, a different view.
People from the involvement team have shown that to staff that we do really enjoy what we do, and we are very knowledgeable about what we do, and we bring in those life experiences.
After I suffered a stroke, when I got out of hospital, began to look around for something to do, preferably something that would pay back into the system for the care I've done.
I think the involvement team are having a big impact on MindTech in a number of ways. I think the 2 key ways for me are that firstly they're driving forward how we do involvement and really making it much deeper and more meaningful. And as a result of that, it's also making the involvement that they have with the individual research projects more impactful as well.
I think it's important to have members of the public involved in research, because I think we can be a bit like a sanity check, which sounds silly, you know, I know, but we can actually relate what life is really like sort of out there.
Changes in the team are such that we become smaller, more focused, and dare I say, for want of a better term, perhaps more professional.
One of the biggest challenges is co-production. That means that the patient and the academics are working together to produce things rather than separately.
I was recently asked to help with the co-production and facilitation of an event for families and children and young people who have an autistic spectrum disorder, and I felt as though I made a positive contribution.
So I think there are lots of examples of where involvement has made a difference. I think what it tends to be is actually lots of small changes that add up to a really big change. To think that they're actually having an effect on how the organisation works is incredible.
I do enjoy being involved in actually doing things, actually making a difference. I also rather like modifying documents to make them understandable by the general public, and I know it's sad, but I'm afraid that's the way it is.
Impact on MindTech has been to be what I would call a critical friend, and that's by being able to offer knowledge and skills from life and from past careers as well.
What comes to mind, it can get a bit hectic and a bit overpowering, considering we're now involved with the Bio Research Centre in Nottingham. But it is good fun.
One thing I've noticed about the volunteers is that they really are the only people in the Institute who ignore organisational boundaries and work across and work with everyone, and they really can teach us a thing or two about moving out of our silos.
That in the future, that it's very important that the involvement team is able to identify where we have made a difference, not just to the actual research study or project, but the outcome of it.
Say that involvement is not something that has to be done. It's not a box that has to be ticked. It is actually something that will make the research more valuable and more relevant to the patient.
We have to expand the number of people in the group. We have an awful lot of work on, but I think, you know, that will be interesting to see how the group develops and how we work with each other, because we are busy people, and I think the future is bright, and we're looking forward to working both with MindTech and with the BRC as well.
Right. The future of the involvement team, certainly one thing we need to do is to increase the diversity, both in terms of age, in terms of ethnic background, etc.
I think one thing it would be nice to do is move towards more research carried out by lived experience researchers, so having people employed specifically full-time on a project, rather than as, I suppose, a member of the project team but not necessarily really delivering the whole thing. So at the moment, involvement volunteers do really shape and influence our research, but I think we'd like to push towards that next level.
Hello, I'm Matt Rawsthorne, and I'm involved with MindTech. One thing I want to ask you is, have you ever been missold PPI? What I mean by that actually is, you heard from Debbie in the video there saying that they want to expand the team, and we've got an opportunity for people to be involved. In fact, we've had over 600 patients, professionals and carers already contributing their questions about digital mental health in this priority setting partnership. Now this is, as you've heard, this is an expanding field with huge consequences. So directing the research is important, even if it's just an impact assessment. I mean, I think some things are worth doing an impact assessment for. So we're going to show you a short film about the project, and then I'll give you a short demo of how to go on and pick your questions.
It's all about new ways of connecting people and new ways of accessing services and treatments. It might be about using everyday things, text messaging, online support groups, apps, computer games designed to help us with our well-being, or futuristic things like virtual reality, avatars, and robots. MindTech is working with a wide range of people and organisations. We want to find out what you think are the most important questions about digital technology for mental health. As researchers and developers of digital technology for mental health, we get stuck as we don't know where to start answering all these questions or which we need to answer first. This is where we need your help. We need to get this right to make sure future research focuses on those things that are most important. We want to hear from people with lived experience of mental health problems, either personally themselves or supporting friends and family. We want to hear from health and social care practitioners. We also want to hear from people who decide which mental health services are available in your area, the commissioners. To get involved, all we'd like you to do is send us your questions about using digital technology for mental health. Whatever you can think to ask, it will be important to us, and it should only take a couple of minutes to complete our survey. At the end, you will be asked if you'd like to stay in touch with the project and take part in the later stages. The options for later involvement will be completing another survey or coming to a workshop where we talk about some of the questions in more detail. The end result of this project will be a top 10 list of research questions that have been decided by people like you and are published so that researchers can see which questions are most important. By taking part, you are helping to direct future research, making sure the most pressing questions are those answered first. If you want to find out more, go to
Okay, so it's been a team effort, and we've had a tough job narrowing down the 1,500 individual questions and suggestions to a sensible number, and it's taken a while, and if we want to report in spring, then the next phase we need to broaden our reach even further. So it's kind of a bit like the Heineken effect. We do want to hear from the parts that aren't normally heard from. The short version of the link to the survey is here. It's also in your pack, and Andre is going to tweet it out as well. Basically, what happens is you get asked a couple of questions about which perspective you're coming from, and then you get to this, and it's a card sort. So you've got a list of questions on the left there, and you've got three different containers, a holding area. So you can just, if you think, ooh, I'm not sure about that one, you can drag and drop, and that can take as many as you want. And then if you think, oh yeah, there's definitely something in this one, into your top 10. And if there's something you feel particularly strongly about, there's a top 3 box as well. And it's that simple, really. We ask a couple of demographic questions at the end just to make sure we're not missing important views. And there's a chance to enter a prize draw. I mean, what's not to like? So please do take this opportunity to direct future research and get involved. Thank you. Thanks, Chris.